What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special non-Twitch stream of the Normal American Show. I'm your host, Rob Noor. Glad to be here this fine evening with you. One of the finest of evenings. Tomorrow will be my son Hank's first trip to the zoo. So it should be fun. So just to let everyone know what's going on this evening, I will be talking to left-wing streamer Destiny, who I enjoy talking to Destiny, even though I think a lot of his political positions are not very good. That's okay. I have many friends in real life who completely disagree with me in politics, but I find them to be sane, rational people, some of them even smarter than me, if you could believe that. I think Destiny's an intelligent person who I actually enjoy talking with. I think he has a sense of humor, which is very important. And I think it's a shame that he got kicked off Twitch, so we're going to be talking about sort of some of the things that went to him getting kicked off Twitch and sort of what I see as cancel culture from basically what I consider to be a it happens to be led by some radical trans people that are interested in sort of kicking anyone off the platform that they disagree with. I don't think that platform's indicative of all trans people. This isn't really going to be a debate, at least I don't intend it to, but I'm sure we'll find something to disagree with on. And we'll see how it goes. But just signed up to be a conversation at this point. No gotcha or anything like that. So should be interesting. So that's supposed to start here in 4 minutes. For those that are following, I kind of am on my last leg on YouTube because I keep getting cited for misinformation surrounding either COVID or the election. The last time, because I was on a panel with lefties, I ended up a video I did on Biden's swearing day, January 20th, 2021. So it was like, 18 months ago or something, 17 months ago. I got dinged for a video I did 17 months ago. Of course, they didn't tell me exactly what I said that was wrong. Nice shirt. Thank you. I've been getting compliments on this shirt all day. Some guy at the gas station was like, hey, man, nice shirt. I was like, well, thank you. I thought it was funny. I used to wear Hawaiian shirts all the time, and then that was like apparently a Boogaloo Boy thing. And I'm like, that sucks. It was like when my favorite color growing up was purple, and I remember someone telling me like, hey, that's like the official color of gay pride. And I was like, oh, I don't really have a problem with gay people, but I'll continue to like purple. I liked it before I knew that. I liked Hawaiian shirts before I knew Boogaloo Boys did. Why are we talking about cancel culture? Can we talk to something to disagree about? I don't know. We'll see how the conversation goes. Sometimes it's difficult to get someone to talk to you when you're like, I want to argue with you about X. Sometimes it's easier to get them on the horn when you're like, I want to ask about this situation that you went through and that we'll agree on. I'm sure we'll set up a debate soon. Destiny's usually game to debate. He said he'll debate me on Burisma. Don't worry, I'll ask him before we leave. I do remember when Destiny put me on the front page of Reddit. What was that about? Trans issues? Interesting. Perhaps it'll come up. Amber Heard's, but I didn't keep up on that. I didn't watch 1 minute of the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. I'm gonna be honest. So, listen. Let me say this too, just real quick. There are a lot of big left-wing people that I would like to debate. I think I do very well when I debate them. Destiny's been one who's been willing to debate me. Others have not. But I will say this about anyone who's a bigger streamer. They probably have busy schedules. They probably have a lot of people that want to talk to them. So I never feel entitled that someone has to talk to me. I really don't. I totally get it. That's fine. Particularly in the context of a debate. I take it as a compliment. It's probably difficult to get ready for a debate with me. So, or even aside from that, maybe I'm just not that interesting to some people that are left-wing streamers, and who could blame them? So I don't hold grudges for shit like that. I don't. I'll talk smack. That's okay. But so I don't think that Destiny's obligated to debate me, or that any other streamer's obligated to debate me. I wanted to talk to Destiny about him getting canceled. Like, I sent him a DM the day it happened and was like, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about this, because a lot of what I was saying at the time, and I even did a YouTube video on it, you could see, and I was like, the people that are cheering this on will regret it, because it's going to make the platform, regardless if you like or hate Destiny, the truth is he brought eyeballs to Twitch politics. He did. Hassan is definitely the biggest Twitch politics streamer, but Hassan isn't interacting with the people like Destiny was. So when it came to someone who was bringing eyeballs of 8,000 to 10,000 people a night, Destiny was doing that. And that was doing that if it was me as a right winger that was debating him, or if it was left wingers that was having him on panels and things like that. So I think that, as is the case so often with these left wing people, they cut off their nose to spite their face, and now their viewership, I predict, will suffer as a consequence of this. So I'll kind of talk about some of that sort of stuff. And who knows where the conversation will go? I don't know how long it'll go. I have more stuff to talk about after, just politics related stuff afterwards. So, if Destiny only wants to talk for 10 minutes, that's fine. But we'll see. I'll chum them in. I'll find something to talk about. So I'm going to try to give him a call here now. So you're going to lose me visually. Also, I'm drinking a Michelob Ultra that's piss warm, if anyone's interested. We're going to try to keep it light. It looks like he's AFK for the moment, so. Well, geez, let's activate this then for now, huh? Whenever he's ready, I'll let you all know. What do we got going on in the chat? A Biden review debate. I actually wanted to review that debate myself this week. I thought it'd be interesting, like 5-6 months afterwards. But I can't review it on Twitch because I can't even show clips of my own conversations with Destiny because Destiny's banned. My shirt is based, thank you. Keffels is terrible. Dylan, I don't know what to say. Thank you, Doug Q. I appreciate it. I'll say this about Dylan. I can't bring myself to hate Dylan. I'm sorry. It's just what it is. There's something about him I still find likable. I think he's done some scummy shit. I dislike a lot of his takes. I see nothing to like about Keffels. There are certain people I see nothing to like. Having said that, I don't want anyone banned. Unless you're literally calling for, like, incredible violence against someone or you're exploiting children or something like that. I don't want you banned. Even if you say shit that I think's heinous, I'm just like, okay, I just won't watch it. It doesn't bother me in the least. Not respecting someone's different than hating them. I agree with that. But you watched some Dylan today? Well, he's over in Ukraine. I wish him well over there. Regardless of our political differences, it is a war zone. Even if you think that it's being played up and things like that, I don't want him to suffer. And if you're already having problems, emotional problems and things like that, maybe going to an active war zone could exacerbate that. I'm not here to give anyone advice. If you think that's the right move because of your convictions or whatever, by all means, I'm not here to say go or don't go or anything like that, but I just hope. No, I think he's in Ukraine now. At least that's what he's claiming. There are people I hate. At least my definition of the word hate. What I would do to people I hate, though, is probably far milder than what most people do. I usually don't wish ill on people, but I think Destiny had to run out for a minute or something like that. So we're just buying time until he comes on. Nothing. Dylan's just in Ukraine, I think, covering, and people said he looked unhinged today. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. when someone said they don't hate anyone, there's very few people that I've interacted with online that I would say I hate, I guess. There are some people that I just can't stand and don't want to interact with anymore. Yeah, I saw Mystic Politics got booted off Twitch. For what? I think that's terrible, too. I have no love for communism. I thought that his political takes, I disagreed with 90% of them. But what did he do? Unless he directly called for physical harm to someone. I think that's ridiculous. He should be allowed to say his piece. People should tune in, not to watch. I don't like Demon Mama at all. I don't want her channel banned either. In fact, you have to understand, people like Demon Mama being out there, that only helps my cause. People of my political ideology see people like Demon Mama and they're like, or even independents or moderates, and they're like, If that's what the left is, I say, let them go. Let them talk. Don't bother me. You'll be hard-pressed to see. I mean, if it's not child exploitation or like legitimate criminal cause to violence, you'll be hard-pressed to find me. My stance is almost universal. I don't want to see people get banned. Burns isn't a journalist or reporter. He's in a war zone. I mean, you could look at it that way. You could say, oh, well, that's stupid. You could also say he's someone who has a conviction and he's following it. I don't know. I think the new White House press secretary, as far as like how she'll end up being, I don't know. I think stylistically, maybe she's nervous to start. I think she's worse than Psaki. Psaki was not a very likable person. I don't think she was as talented as a lot of the people that were there under Trump. But she does have a certain level of talent. It does take, even if you think someone's lying through their teeth, it does take, a certain talent to kind of answer questions that people are asking. Now, the reality is the questions that are being levied at her was far simpler than those that were levied at the Biden press secretary or the Trump press secretaries. But she did have to deal with Peter Doocy, who was like the only person. Burns following his conviction for clout. Maybe. Not for me to say, nor do I really care. I hope he stays safe. I hope he comes home safely. That's all I have to say about it, really. Worst streamers in no particular order. Fanatic, Demon Mama, No Comment, Chick Jangles, Vivian, Keffels, CTV. I like CTV. But I will say the rest, Fanatic's better than the rest of the people you have on your list there. Jangles would probably be below him. Keffels I've never actually seen other than little clips. Looks like the absolute worst. The absolute most unhinged I've seen someone was No Comment Chick. Mr. Girl, I barely know. In fact, I was driving today and watching some of Destiny's stream, and I saw him showing Mr. Girl a clip of him with his shirt off, talking to someone who maybe was his girlfriend, acting like he was some type of psychologist trying to convince her to have a sex schedule with him. Not only was it creepy, I thought that it came off as absolutely fucking sad and pathetic, is how it came off to me. It came off as someone who thinks that they're smarter than they are, who's really just an asshole trying to play some deep psychologist, and it's like, no, dude, you're just being a fucking asshole. That's how the one clip I've seen of Mr. Girl came off as. Joe Lewis, I don't care for. CTV isn't even a debater. He tries to debate, but I would say even CTV would admit it. His strong suit's probably not debate. His strong suit's probably having fun and having a community. All right, I think Destiny's back, so if you don't mind, you're going to lose me visually here for a minute, and then we'll try to get on the call with them and see what we can do, okay? Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Sorry it's not being streamed on Twitch, but, what are you going to do?
Are you Morbin?
Am I a Mormon?
Are you Morbin?
Morbid?
Can somebody link me the movie so that you can watch it real quick? I need the hour and 30-minute link. It's a movie. You wouldn't understand, Rob. What's up?
Not much. I thought you were asking me if I'm morbid as in obese. I was like, that's probably an apt description.
No.
I don't know that anyone's put that word on it, but,
I'm all about mash and energy, okay? Until you make fun of my body, I won't make fun of yours, okay?
That's funny. That's part of what I wanted to talk to you about, matching energy. It's something that I don't think... I like to think that's my own style as well. I don't think people get that about people like us. And it's not just us. There's a lot of people like that. If I go onto a panel and people are chill, then I'm chill. If they want to be assholes, then I'll be an asshole. And what gets me is 90% of the people that want to start off being assholes can't keep up with it. And then they throw a hissy fit afterwards. I see that with you all the time on Twitter.
Oh, sure, because people go real hard, and then if I go hard back, they like start calling me a transphobe. Yeah, it's dumb, man.
Like, no, there's no secret. I've never liked your politics. I probably watch you more than any other streamer that does politics, and I probably watch you 2 hours a month, maybe. And I've seen in just that little bit, which is a very small cross section of what you do, I've seen people picking on your girlfriend, picking on your kid, and then you'll come back at them, and people are like, "Well, that's heavy-handed there by Destiny. He needs to calm down." And like, fuck all that. You bring someone's family into it, it's scorched earth. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, if you want to go that far, and I'm okay with it. Make fun of my kid all you want, but I'm gonna be talking about that manly fucking like that. I'm never mind. Fuck, that was too much. But like, yeah, we're gonna like. I can't have it where you can go after literally every facet of my existence. And like, I think it was Scarlett I saw on a thing say she was like, attacking any trans person's appearance ever is transphobic. I was like, what the fuck? Well, fuck you. Wait, you can literally say every single thing you want about me? Like, fuck that. Yeah, it is what it is.
Well, that's so I wanted to talk to you for a long while about your ban here. I don't know why you get banned. I don't know if you specifically know why you do, but I do know this, that Keffels and people like that are taking credit for it. What a bunch of the worst fucking crybaby, like worthless content creators in existence. To take credit for something like that and then brag about it on a daily basis, I'm so sick and tired of people weaponizing their victimhood to silence people because they can't keep up, not even intellectually, but just stylistically, with people reacting to them the same way they react to other people. They'll say whatever evil shit they can to you, and then when you come back at them, it's too much. You need to get banned.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like, when you have, like, are you religious? I forget.
I believe in being Christ-like, but I don't go to church.
Sure. Okay, I mean, like, I'm sure you can empathize with this edgy atheist quote, at least, even if you are religious. But there's, like, there's the ancient atheist quote is, like, good people will do good things naturally, bad people will do bad things naturally, but for good people to do bad things, that takes religion. And I mean, obviously, there's like a whole host of reasons why good people can do bad things. But I think that when people have like a righteousness behind their anger, it's a lot different than just a normal angry person. Like, everybody's been mad at people online. We all get mad at each other, say dumb shit. But if I think I'm being mad at you for a righteous reason, like, oof, I can carry that anger with me to the ends of the earth, and I can rally up support behind me, right? If I call some dude the F word or the N word on Xbox Live, like, even the people that know that, even the people that are doing it know, like, okay, well, it's probably a pretty shitty thing to do. But but like, if you feel like you've got like some kind of righteous cause behind you, then you can literally be the biggest. Like, Keffels is a trash human being. Like, she engages in online harassment. She harasses people who have even blocked her off of multiple accounts, and then she weaponizes her fan base to brigade and harass people online. But because it's all under the guise of righteousness, she feels like she can infinitely do that behavior, and everybody around here will kind of validate it and condone it. So,
well, what's terrible is I do think that, and you understand this. Twitch politics is very insular and small. Even someone that was big on Twitch like you, when it comes to the grand scheme of what Twitch's viewership is, it's not a huge percentage of the pie. And I don't even think, like, I think with Keffels and some other radical trans people on Twitch, I don't think they're indicative of the average trans community. At least I don't think. I know trans
not
people
in real life. Absolutely not. Yeah, most trans people in real life are super chill. They just want to be left the fuck alone so they can do their shit.
That's right. Yeah. Most of them aren't asking for anything special. They want to be treated like a normal person. They're probably dealing with some shit, that, if you just look at the average numbers, it's very difficult for people to deal with. And so they're not asking for that to be constantly reminded every inch of their life that that's what's going on. But this radical people in the Twitch community that want to get everyone banned for talking about any serious issue, like, to me, it goes back to this question way back in the day. You remember when Richard Spencer got punched in like 2015? And there was this whole question, like, is it okay to punch a Nazi? The answer is no, not unless that Nazi's using physical violence on you at that point. Because as soon as you say yes, then you have this righteous indignation, and you're like, and everyone who disagrees with me is a Nazi. And so
that's the issue is always like a matter of scope on everything. Like, is it okay? I think genuinely, I think it is okay to punch a Nazi because Nazis are fucking insane. But the problem isn't that we're talking about punching Nazis. The problem is that like a guy that thinks that like GTA is too woke all of a sudden is a Nazi. The problem is now everybody's a Nazi. I'm a Nazi to these people, right?
Right.
And then you get people who think that they can act a certain way or assault people or do all these things, and then people feel like again that righteous anger, like you can do no wrong as long as you feel like you've got like the moral good on your side. And then yeah, well now where the fuck are we? So yeah, it kind of seems like for liberalism to work, you probably need some blanket rules about like should we be assaulting people that we disagree with, even if we like virulently disagree with them? Probably not. Yeah.
That's probably the biggest fight that I know people, Rob thinks the election was stolen. I didn't say that. I never said the election was stolen. I said there's significant questions. And I think that there was a lot of shady shit that happened before the election, like the censorship of certain stories. But, I always try to look at things like my Democrat friends that are reasonable. They don't see a smoking gun. That's absolutely reasonable. But what I did after the election, do you know how many right-wing people were calling into my show? I have literally a dozen or two people that watch me. And I had people saying, time to refresh the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants. And I was like, are you fucking insane? Like, and I'm trying to tell these people, my stance is political violence is never justified. Now, I could talk to you and you could be like, yeah, but Rob, what about this? And probably you're right. You'll be able to come up with a scenario. Mm-hmm. But for every one scenario you could come up with, there's 10,000 that people have claimed it was justified and it wasn't. So the appropriate stance for me is to just say, it's not justified. Now, you can't punch a Nazi. No, you can't go out and use violence for your political issue. Because as soon as you say, I guess there's this one scenario where it's appropriate,
everybody wants their own exception.
Like, well, this is that scenario. The election was stolen. This is that scenario. It's systemic racism in this country. And that's how we get where we're at, where you have these people with righteous indignation that are like, well, I think I could go scorched earth on someone like death. The irony, of course, being that you're probably a bigger ally to a lot of centrist people, to kind of welcoming trans people and their values more than almost anyone. But they'll come after you because you didn't toe the line completely, and they feel justified in doing so.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, yeah. Yeah, people have a hard time thinking about that too. Is that like technically, like in the most technical sense, like January 6th wasn't really like a negative thing. If you really feel like your country is being stolen from you, you probably should violently revolt, right? Like the issue is all of the propaganda and everything leading up to it, because it's really difficult when you've got people that are willing to condemn in the roughest words things like January 6th, but then are willing to turn a blind eye to things like the BLM riots, right? It's like, well, at the end of the day, like technically all of it is bad and violent, but you think that some of the violence is justified and some of it isn't. So we have to talk about the justifications. Like it gets really hard to like write rules around that stuff,
That's right. And that's why, to me, we have to agree on stylistically, whether it be talking politics in general, like if violence is acceptable or not, or talking streaming. Like this, I get so fucking tired of this, well, who should we platform? And fuck all that. Like, everyone's so arrogant that they think that they're making this big impact. Platform who you want. Like, it's not your job. If you want to talk to someone, talk to them. If you don't. But shut up about it. Like, that's the way I look at it. But we have to set these ground rules first. Like, I'm not going to go scorched earth and try to get Destiny banned because I feel he beat me in a debate. Which, never happened. But,
yeah, it sucks because, like, obviously, of course, never. That used to be, like, a long time ago. That was always, like, like, people were always pushing, like, the ground rules. Like, like, do we go after this guy's sponsors? Do we go, like, and that was, like, I think there was kind of, like, a gentleman's agreement. Like, that was a scum of the earth type thing. If you were going after people's, like, sponsors, like, you're, like, the worst ever. Like, we don't go that far, guys. Like, we have, like, this code of conduct. But, yeah, I mean, like smaller communities would do it. Like shit Reddit says was a big one in the beginning. And then eventually, now it's kind of grown into like, you can basically go after every single facet of a person's life. Like it hasn't happened yet. And I brought this up a few times. It wouldn't surprise me if it starts happening. Like it wouldn't surprise me if it starts to get to the point where people find out that like, oh, like this like real estate group owns a fuck ton of apartment buildings. If you are like a political undesirable, we should be able to get you deplatformed from having an apartment in like San Francisco. We should be like, and people will call me crazy, but like I think getting people delisted from payment processors is crazy. Like Stripe won't work with somebody because what the fuck? All you do is fucking process credit cards. Why the fuck would you be choosing who to work? Unless it's like porn related because of child porn stuff. But like for political shit, like what the fuck? That's insane. Yeah, I feel like we're on the way to those types of things happening. As stupid as it is. Yeah.
Well, I even have my day job. I'm not like you in that. Like you do this is your career. If you get canceled completely, like that's your livelihood. For me, this is just, I mean, I got 30 people that watch me. It's a hobby. I enjoy doing it, make a little money, not much at all. But my job is I work with people with developmental disabilities. So a lot of the streaming I do is when I'm off the clock at my job. I have to stay there overnight, but I don't get paid. I was doing a panel and there was this guy, I think his name was Kai. He's a groiper. He was on the panel.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the very next night he got swatted. I think he was on with you. on a panel.
Yeah,
And he got
Kai. He's
swatted.
like a friendly, funny dude, but I think he might be a groper. Yeah, he is.
Oh, he's definitely a groiper, and like I think he's one of the better groipers. Which I mean, fuck, they're terrible. But he's okay. I didn't mind talking to him. But he got swatted, and then I had to think of this really carefully. If I get swatted at my house here, that's one thing that's terrible. I have an infant here; it would be terrible. But if I get swatted while I'm in the home of someone with autism that doesn't really understand interactions with the police, what could happen? And these are the types of things that 5 years ago, if I was streaming, I wouldn't have thought of. Now it's a very real possibility. I could say something about trans athletes, and someone could say, you know what, let's find out where this guy works. Let's get the police called there. And then something really fucking bad could happen to the disabled person, who might answer the door or be there when the cops burst through the door. And it's insane that that's the world we live in. Why? Because we have a disagreement on, who should participate in what athletics, or we have a disagreement on which political party we should vote for. I can't wrap my head around how authoritarian some of these people are. And just to be clear, my understanding is Kai was swatted by other right wingers. I think it's a bigger problem on the left, but I mean, it's fucked up.
Wait, what's the bigger problem?
People trying to ruin you, swat you, or
people trying to ruin you, I agree, is a bigger problem on the left. Swatting is still, I think, pretty unique to the right, though, to be fair.
I know very little about it other than that was the first time that it tangentially connected me because I was like, oh, I streamed with that guy the night before. And I'd never seen it like live. Like I happened to be watching that panel you're on. I was like, oh shit, that's kind of crazy. But I just find it, I find it ridiculous. Like you have to set these ground rules. And that's what people don't. I think I came from a sort of unique background in that I grew up in rural Pennsylvania. Basically everyone I know is apolitical. But if you press them, they're conservative. Most of them don't vote. And then I went into policy debate in college, and everyone was super radical left wing. But I made friends in both communities. I obviously lean more towards the right wing, obviously. But I understood that you could disagree with someone and not hate them. You could still go out, have fun. But
the problem is because everything is so radically political, you can't disagree with somebody and hate them anymore. Because now it's like, if we disagree, you want to delete my identity, or if we disagree, you're a racist, homophobic asshole. Like there is no like minor disagreements anymore. Like everything is ratcheted up to an 11. Every single issue is the most important issue. Every single issue is an existential issue for every group of people involved. Like that's just where it's at right now.
I know it's insane. I had true story. When I debated, I had a partner, and then I coached for a while. And basically, the best person that I coached, us three were best friends. There happened to be a debate tournament I was at 2 weeks after Trump was elected, and those two guys knew that I voted for Trump. And they pulled me in a room. We had a round off, and I thought we were just going to be bullshit. And they just screamed at me about how racist I was for an hour. And nice. I'm just like, one of them, the guy that I lived with that was my roommate, he happened to be black. I'm like, I lived with you for 4 years, and never once did me being racist come up. But now all of a sudden... and they didn't get it. I was like, do you think Hillary Clinton's a warmonger? And they're like, well, yeah, but she was the better of the two options. I was like, but I don't call you a warmonger for voting for her. I just say, okay, maybe not your ideal candidate, but you had your reasons. Why can't you think the same of me with Trump? Even if you think he's a racist, you can't be like, well, he just liked him more than Hillary. And so it was weird to me to see, it's one thing to see randos online, but to see people that you're like best friends with that were willing to jump the shark that much and be like, well, you must be an immoral person because you voted for someone I didn't like. I don't know. I mean, maybe this is what it was like in the 70s with Vietnam and stuff. I don't know. I wasn't around, but it just feels different than the rest of my life,
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to say what's like, yeah, I don't know. Everything is hard. Like, I mean, to be fair, like lefties do it online, conservatives do it in real life too, right? Like a trans person will be like, hey, like it'd be cool if I could like get medical shit, and people are like, oh, you're trying to groom my kids into turning trans. It's like, well, I don't think anybody wants to do that, okay? Well, I did see this Twitter account talking about it. It's like, okay, like I'm sure there are a couple of radical people, but like there's radical people everywhere. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's a lot, but
and there's certain issues that's tough. Like abortion's one of those, right? Like if you both sides, it's tough. Like this is the issue that'll probably get me to lose the most followers because I understand both sides. I understand that you think that a woman's right to choose is very important. Like I get that and I understand where that comes from. I also think that if you think this is a life, why it's very important to protect that life. And it's sort of like a riddle with no answer. I get that. I happen to be pro-life. Like I get that, but I understand that doesn't mean you're horrible and evil if you're on the other side. Now, if you're for 9-month abortions, that's a little different. I think that's insane. But it's hard because how do you go through an issue like that and humanize someone? How could you say, I understand you have good reasons for believing what you do? Because both sides of that, it's like an unanswerable question, and both sides feel so morally virtuous that it's literally something that you're like, I can't be friends with someone who disagrees with me on this issue. And it's hard to like square that circle, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the issue, but it feels like more and more people are coming up with every other issues where it's like, I can't be friends if you think this, I can't be friends if you think that. It's like, but yeah.
So this is what the reason that I wanted to talk to you about the cancel thing, right? And maybe I missed this. Obviously, I don't watch all content, but I saw all these panels after you got banned from Twitch, where you were obviously the top topic, you getting banned. And I basically saw it was mostly leftist, and there were two types of arguments. There was Destiny deserved it because he's so mean to trans people. And then there was no, but he helped the trans community out a lot. And I didn't really hear people making the third argument, which was, I don't give a fuck if you help the trans community or not. Why should you be banned? You shouldn't be banned, period. I don't care if you were saying, I don't like the trans community. And what gets me is, I couldn't help but feel that there were a lot of people on the left, particularly on Twitch, that owe you in one way or another. I don't want to say but at least should understand that a lot of what they are is in part due to you. And it seemed like rats fleeing the ship to me, where they couldn't wait to virtue signal, Destiny could have did better, blah, 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 blah. And I just found it disgusting. And I didn't get invited to any of those panels. I don't even agree with your politics, maybe 10% of your politics. And the answer was quite simple. No, if you start banning Destiny for this sort of shit, then you're going to be next. And no one could come up with that great rationale. And so now you see Keffels going after all sorts of people that should have been there, taking a principled stance from the get-go, saying, I don't give a shit what Destiny said unless he was exploiting children or calling for physical harm of people. This is insane. And yet they didn't. They acted like it, this is some sort of topic to debate. Maybe I actually saw one person say, hey, Destiny viewers, come on over to my Twitch channel. It's like, you fucking vultures. Like, it just, to me,
there were a few people doing that.
It just seemed so gross. And like, I think that 90% of Twitch streamers that are on the left, and even to me, a lesser degree me, but they either owe you because, one, they're doing bad impressions of you, or second, because you did their show, which got a lot of eyeballs on their show. And I can't believe that even for the sake of self-preservation, that more of them didn't defend you more forcibly. And I just find it ironic now. Every day you see another left-wing Twitch streamer that the mob's coming after or that got banned. And it's just like, when are people going to realize that this sort of mutually assured destruction is going to end with no one being able to say anything interesting politically on places like Twitch?
Yep, I mean, we'll see where it goes, I guess. Yeah, the Keffels is fucking running wild. That's like a machine, a beast, a monster that people unleash that is unstoppable now. So we'll see. Yeah.
Does she even have content other than trying to get people banned? Is that exclusively
No, that's like
her content?
she brigades and harasses people on Twitter, and then she like tries to spam report people, whatever. That's basically all they do there. Yeah.
So I've had to turn down 5 or 6 debates on trans issues because I think that I don't know. I'm a small streamer, but I seriously think they're baiting me. I think that they.
Yeah,
I'll get a
that's
trans
what my editor told me for a long time. He's like, you got to stop talking trans issues because like it's literally just people saying like none of these people don't give a fuck about even the trans people online don't give a fuck about trans people. It's all just like an opportunity for them to like virtue signal and riot off of like these things and then get you banned if they can get you to trip out. That's the only thing they really care about. Yeah. You can tell because like so few of them are even willing to engage, and then when they do engage, it's not in good faith, and then when they do engage in bad faith, it's to try to get you banned. Like that's literally the goal at the end of the day. So yeah.
I had someone come in my chat, a trans person, and say, I wasn't even watching the chat, but apparently they said, I'm trans. Do you think I'm biologically a woman? And someone was like, no, you're a man. And within 2 minutes of that statement, they got banned from Twitch, from my chat. Yeah. And I mean, now I use the pronouns because I just think it's a matter of decency. If I'm trying to have a conversation with someone and they ask me a simple ask, I don't have a problem. That's no skin off my back. I'm not going to say I've never slipped up, but I try to correct myself if I had. But I have differences with what I think of I don't wish anyone ill, no matter what I think of them, like as far as conditions or something like that, or, how you identify. But I might disagree. That doesn't mean I'm a bigot. It doesn't mean I wish harm to people. But I can't talk about that because I'll give you an example. Have you ever I know you have. I've been on a panel with you. Tiffany Starr, do you remember her?
Was she black?
No, she was drunk. She's a trans porn star. She was drunk on John Burke's panel with us one time. She made the
No, I
brilliant
don't know.
point.
Or maybe
She
I
made the
never go.
brilliant point when discussing COVID. She said, like, it's not like the cold is an illness. It's not like the cold's a disease. And even you rolled your eyes and were like, yeah, just shut the fuck up.
Maybe. Yeah.
She was pretty drunk. Anyways, she's trans porn star. So after that John Burke debate, like 3 months later, she's like, Rob, I really want to discuss things with you. I'm not a good debater. I just want to talk. So we happen to be of a similar age. And she wanted to talk about video games back when we were kids. So like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. She comes on for an hour. We talk about old movies and games. Doesn't even come up that she's trans or any political issues. She leaves and I start talking to my audience, and half of my audience is like, why'd you call her a her? And I was like, well, because it's no skin off my back. You should be polite. It doesn't matter what you think of biology and all this stuff. It's just being polite. It was a good conversation. The next thing I know, I'm getting all of these like people saying that I'm being hate rated and like my account got hacked. I got like someone hacked my Twitch account the next day with my password as their name, which was a password with a lot of characters and stuff. And what happened was Tiffany went on another panel, a left-wing panel, and said, Rob Noor said, I don't have the right to live. Okay. And I was just like, what? So she confronted me when I was on another panel. She comes on. I was like, what the fuck did I say that made you think that? She's like, well, you told your audience when I left that the reason you use pronouns because you're being polite, not because you agree with me biologically. And I was like, what does any of that have to do with saying that you don't have the right to live? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it didn't matter. To her, she was just like, oh, well, we can still be friends. I'm like, no, this is such a shitty thing. Why would you say this? Because people take you seriously and they're like, oh, fuck this guy. You know, and so now people are trying to get me canceled. And so her and several other trans people over and over, like once every month, they'll message me, want to do a debate on trans issues? And I'm just like, no, go fuck yourself. Why would I want to talk to you on this when you're waiting for me to slip up one time so that you could cancel me? It's just insanity.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah.
But
Mr. Girl brings up this point that I think is interesting, that there's a little bit of like hostage taking when it comes to talking about trans issues, because every single conversation is framed around the idea of like imminent mass suicide or homicide of the trans community if you're not 100% on board with every single topic. And it's like, okay, well, that feels a little bit manipulative to try to talk about this right now. If you're telling me that if I disagree on anything, I'm advocating for mass trans genocide / suicide, but okay, I'll try my best. Like, yeah.
I mean, let me ask you this. These same people, if it came out that Trump supporters were something like, 300% more likely to commit suicide than other people, do you think
no,
that
they
these
wouldn't care. It'd be a good
would
thing.
they give it? Would they say, well, we can't make fun of Trump supporters, we can't disagree with Trump supporters?
There's like this concept that's like ontologically evil. Like the fact is that like these types of people are, by virtue of their existence, like immorally horrible, evil, intrinsically bad people. So like if they die, that's actually good, right? That's how they justify, because they act in ways that are horrible towards people, but it's okay because it's the enemy, so it makes it fine.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, it's bigoted too. That's the one issue that I don't hear people talk about, even on the left. That if you're on the right, you could be like, see. I mean, the reality is, and I think you know this, people like Keffels are the best thing politically that could happen to people like me on the right, because we could point and go, see, you see how they are. And it just like you could point to ridiculous groypers if you're on the left, or ridiculous white nationalists and say, see, you see what the other side's about? Now, me and you both know that's not indicative of the entire other side, but optically it looks good. It looks good to be like, I'll make this argument, but I don't even see people on the left making the argument that's like, dude, Keffels isn't indicative of the trans community in real life. The trans Twitch community is not representative of at least the trans people I know in real life. And this sort of bigotry of low expectations, like, well, here's a population of people you can't disagree with on anything, because if you do, they're so fragile that they'll go out and harm themselves. No, fuck all that. That's not my role. My role is not to police. The most ethical thing I could do is treat anyone I interact with the same level. I don't go in saying, oh, I got to treat this person with kid gloves because of the particular population they're in. And I've seen you say this on Twitter. If you're that fragile, then get off these spaces. This is not the place.
You don't need to be here. You don't have to be. Like when people get banned off social media, people always say like, oh, well, Facebook doesn't owe you a platform, which is true. But you also you're not owed like a safe space and like online like blood sports arenas. Like you don't have to be here. You can do other things, Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny to me because, something that no one wants to talk about. I'm not saying that this is true of every trans person on Twitch. There are certainly trans people on Twitch that I've had great conversations with that I don't see engaging in cancel culture. But with those that are, using this like Keffels, I have no proof of this, so I'm kind of talking out my ass. But my gut feeling is they're either one, claiming to be more trans or something than they are because they realize that it gives them a power to be a bully, or even if they are trans, they're exploiting it to the full extent. And I just find that to be horseshit. To me, if anything, that discredits actual people that are actual trans that are going through actual problems.
I mean, it gets hard when you start to get into like, are you really trans or something? Because there's no real way to prove it, and you step into like a lot of like danger zone area there when those accusations start flying. But like I've definitely I run into enough like non-binary men presenting that whatever that are just like, I'm trans. I was like, okay, well, this is kind of dumb, but okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's always just better to fight on points rather than to try to figure out like who's actually trans or who's not, because it's just it's too much of a clusterfuck.
Well, there was a big panel the other day with Big Papa Fascist where Dylan Burns set him up, which was shitty. It was shitty on Dylan's part, but it all started because basically BPF claimed that he thought that Dylan was faking his sexuality in his suicide attempt. That's not shit that I do. It's kind of funny, whatever, but I don't do that. I wouldn't. I take it, particularly in my line of work. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've worked with. I worked with this one guy who had autism that he really liked the nurses at the hospital. He thought they were cute. And he knew if he said, I'm going to kill myself, you had to take it seriously and take him to the hospital. Jesus, so he'd have a big grin on his face and go, I'm going to kill myself. Then he got to hang out with the nurses all day. It's kind of ingenious, to be honest. But you have to take it serious. You can't, because the one time you
ignore it, you're fucked.
You're right. So, like, if someone tells me they're suicidal, for the intents, even if in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, bullshit, you're weaponizing this, I'll take it seriously. But you can't help but notice that these particular people that we're talking about, like Keffels and maybe like Demon Mama and some others, they use their perceived victimhood as a cudgel, right?
Yeah,
they talk about it.
Super ultra weapon. Yeah, they constantly weaponize it and constantly bring it up. Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like, I don't understand that. To me, it's like, I don't give it the most, and I know this gets into a big discussion of like being colorblind, but it is how I try to live my life. Of course, you never can be fully unbiased or fully unprejudiced. Yes. But the best that I think that I could do as a person, at least as a streamer, is try to treat everyone equally. And I don't care. I've been on panels and someone's like, I'm 17, I'm still in high school. What, am I supposed to treat that person differently? Or me and you were on that panel with that progressive brat chick, and he keeps going, what's her first panel? Well, tough shit. To me, it would be bigoted if I'm like, oh, it's your first panel? That's okay, honey. You're doing okay. Like, no, fuck all that. If you come on being an asshole, I don't care if it's your 100th panel or your first panel. I'm going to treat you reciprocally. And I don't understand these people, like Keffels that are demanding that they can say any fucking heinous shit about me. But if I react, then all of a sudden I need to be canceled. It's clear to me that they are weaponizing sort of their condition or their victimhood or however you want to put it. And I have no respect for that. I will respect a trans person that's going through some shit and needs treatment and stuff like that. Absolutely. I don't respect a trans person or a bipolar person or a gay person or a Christian. I don't give a shit what group you are or why you're experiencing problems. I don't respect you if you're going to try to use that as an excuse to be an asshole.
Yeah, of course.
But, what can you do? Question here. So I was on the front of Reddit one time, albeit a small streamer, because I was in a debate with you, and you said I was the most trans positive conservative that you knew.
The trans dialogue, I remember.
Yeah. Do you find an irony in having like that sort of discussion with someone like me and then getting canceled by basically the same group of people you were defending?
I mean, like, I've done like a lot of trans conversations, and I'm canceled by everybody that I talk about. So it's, at this point, I'm used to it. It is what it is.
I think it was funny because it was funny. I got a lot of hate. People were like, why are you even bringing this up? Well, it was a semantic argument because I was just saying that I think trans is an illness, which I still do. I don't know if it's a mental illness or a physical illness, but the irony is you can't even, that wasn't, I don't think me and yours entire conversation, anything that was said there could have been considered hateful to trans people. Neither of us were trying to exploit trans people or saying they should be treated shittily. We were just discussing whether or not books that suggest it's an illness should be pulled off of Amazon. And the irony is that despite that, and you probably taking the stance of more trans positive, that it was those very people on panels like that we came from that night that fucking wanted to take you down. And so now we can't even have that conversation on a platform like Twitch of like, well, should these books be allowed? Now that, to me, that's a worthwhile conversation. You could be the most trans positive person in the world and say, I think it's worthwhile discussing whether we should be banning books from Amazon. But that's off the table now. You can't talk about that because if you say what I said that night, you'd be canceled.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But I mean,
and so
yeah,
I feel that what it happens is, like, even through my audience, I think that, I'm just guessing, a lot of my audience probably would have said, I ain't calling these people the pronouns they want, fuck them. And probably a lot still say that. But you know what? I bet that I've convinced some in my audience, like, hey, you know, one of the examples I give, I think one of the worst people during COVID was Health Secretary Levine here in Pennsylvania. Now she's Rear Admiral. She happens to be trans. So I have a friend that's a journalist that got to be in the press poll and asked Levine all these questions. And Levine moved her mother out of a long-term care facility and then was instrumental. She was the point person for forcing long-term care facilities to accept COVID. So then obviously when it turned out that a lot of people died in those facilities because they were getting COVID, people were like, well, why did you move your mother out right before you forced those facilities to take COVID? And you know what the end result of that conversation was? People going, well, she's not really a woman. And then her going, oh, people are attacking me because I'm trans. And the whole substantive debate on the issue is gone. It's fucking gone. Because one side just wants to be like, I'm not going to listen to someone on health issues that thinks they're a woman. And the other side's like, see, they're a bunch of bigots, so we're not going to respond to this. And so for me, I'm trying to explain to my audience, like, can't you see if there is in my mind, there's a legitimate criticism of this woman that's going to be swept under the rug because you're like, you can't control yourself. You're just like, oh, she's a man. She's a man. And to me, it's like, I don't give a fuck about all that. I could care less. I don't care how she identifies. What I care is about, why did she do this policy? And, you know, so I try my best. Now, what's funny is, though, that the trans community, like Keffels or Demon Mama, would be like, well, Rob's a horrible fucking bigot, Nazi, blah, blah, blah. He shouldn't have a platform. What if I challenged him to find one thing I've ever said that would say that they should be treated poorly because they're trans? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I, even as a right-winger, did some things that they could be like, yeah, that's at least more in the direction that we're hoping to go. They don't give a shit about any of that.
Yeah, I mean, some people would say that, like, by virtue of holding certain positions, it's more likely that certain elected officials would push things that are necessarily anti-trans or bigoted. But I mean, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but I don't know.
So, like, for instance, if a lot of people had the idea that, like, trans was a mental illness, then they would never approve of, like, healthcare or anything for trans people because they'd say, well, you need to be cured instead or something. But...
Well, I don't know. I understand how people could say that. That's not my position. Like, I think that there are significant questions about children and puberty blockers and things like that. And I think there are real questions about what is being taught in schools about sexuality and possible dangers that come from stuff like that. But as an adult, to me, it's like, as long as you should be able to get, I mean, it's one of the things, I don't know what you felt. You remember when Trump signed the, like, right to try bill or whatever? And the idea was, if you're terminally ill.
If you're terminally ill, you should have a right to, like, experimental medications or something. Right?
Yeah. I support that, and I in general I support, as long as a doctor's open with you about, to the best of their ability, the potential risks and harms of a treatment, and you should absolutely be allowed, as long as you and the doctor, and it's not like, obviously there are limits to this. It can't be like harming a third party, but I mean, if you decide that you want as an adult treatments that other people find harmsome, so what? That's on you, as long as the doctor was forthright with you. But I understand that people want to sort of pigeonhole my position. And look, they're probably right. There are probably people on the right that are like, no, we don't think a 24-year-old trans man should be entitled to get, gender reassignment. Yeah, but I think the whole conversation of gender is horseshit anyways. I think that it's a made up thing. I don't give a shit. I care about sex. To me, gender, it's just how you feel and what you think other people should call you. Like, I've already given my opinion. I think that you should be polite to the best of the ability. But I'm tired of seeing this sort of semantic game with gender being played where it's like, oh, well, it's just this social construct. But then as soon as, it benefits the same side, they start talking about sex. Biden put out a tweet today that was like equal pay. I'm pushing for equal pay. For who? Men and women? You can't look at those studies. What do you mean women make 79 cents to $1? Did you ask every single one of those people if they're women and men? What's the difference? And they'll say, well, it's biological reality when it comes to that. Yeah, exactly. That's all I give a shit about. How you feel, I don't give a shit. To me, it's just a made up game for power. Like, I don't like, and it becomes very evident when you get into the athletics conversation. Your gender
I
is
guess it
irrelevant
just-
to athletics. Your sex is. You know.
Yeah, I think it probably depends on how you want to look at it. I would argue that we use different terminology, but I would say in the 90s and 2000s, conservatives were really obsessed about the gender-sex distinction. It didn't really manifest in the conversations about trans people. It manifested about jewelry and metrosexuality. That conservatives would always charge that men are acting more like women, and they weren't talking about sex, even if they didn't have the vocabulary to say it. They were talking about the fact that men's gender was slowly changing because they started wearing earrings or grooming themselves or wearing jewelry like rappers. Only black people should do that, but. I mean, I think that
They're wrong.
Culture issues. What?
I you fuck those conservatives. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
Look,
sure, I know, but I mean, I'm saying that I'm just saying like everybody's got their pet issues, and like conservatives were definitely obsessed with this type of stuff related to manliness and long hair, short hair on men or whatever, like way before trans people came along. So
yeah, I mean,
it's funny to hear that like I'll hear conservatives on one end say like, oh, like the gender sex distinction is so silly, like that's not different at all, blah blah blah. But then they very much want to talk about like the social aspects of like gender roles when it comes to like policing men's behavior or clothing or whatever. Or they did a long time ago. I don't know if they do as much anymore, but yeah.
Well, and listen, I do believe in gender like norms, or in general a good thing, but it's the same problem I have with like, let's be honest, stereotypes exist for a reason because a lot of times they're true. But and it's unavoidable. We all use stereotypes. I love the sort of high-minded people. I don't engage in stereotypes. Yes, you do. You do. We all do. Like, but the key is what we should expect is a stereotype's just a way of assuming something until you get better information. Once you get the better information, then you throw the stereotype out. If you're 7 feet tall, I might say, oh, you're probably good at basketball. And then I watch you and you can't fucking, you can't hit a shot to save your life. Then I adjust, that doesn't mean I'm a bigot. Like, now, obviously there are harmful stereotypes that you should seek to, understand that they're harmful for a reason because they exist because a bunch of assholes created them. But in general, a lot of stereotypes are true. I think that gender norms are a good thing. However, we need to understand that it's our ability as a reasonable society to say you should be allowed to go against those. But it doesn't mean that we throw out, every civilization that's ever existed and sort of, the ideas that came. There is a middle ground between conservative and progressive. I believe gay marriage absolutely should exist. Some of the best relationships I know are gay people. They truly are in love. I find it ridiculous, anyone that says that that's somehow immoral. But, at the same time, that doesn't mean that we throw out all ideas of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. And when it comes to policy and things like that, or, setting rules for who participates in this group or another. To me, the only thing that matters is sex. As a government or as bodies that create rules or laws, we shouldn't be, the gender should not come into the conversation at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends. I mean, like, if you've got somebody that's, like, far along transitioning, you probably want their gender to be accounted for, right? Like, you don't want somebody like Buck Angel going into the woman's bathroom, or you don't want, like, a trans woman competing with cis women in sports, probably. So, I mean, like, at varying points, I guess it just depends on the conversation, like, when we account for these things, right?
Well, but that would be biology. Like, the trans woman wouldn't commit with cis women because it's biology. I will admit that, like, with the Buck Angel example, I thought that, no one likes this answer, but it's like, dude, if you look like a woman, go to the women's room. And if you're doing shady shit in there, then you should be reported. And I'm sorry if you're trans and you don't pass tough shit. I don't know what to say.
Like, the thing is, most reasonable trans people will know that. Like, trans people, real life trans people, aren't going to walk into the bathroom they identify with and cause like a whole bunch, like a whole scene and discomfort because they don't want to be like the center of attention for some crazy shit, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. That's why I say I think that a lot of the voices you hear are more radical people. I think most trans people just want to identify as what they're trying to look like. Like they don't, they don't want special privileges other than, I'm trying my whole life to be a woman. That's how but I think that you have to understand that there's limits to how inclusive we could be. I find it funny, like particularly with the athletics conversation, we always talk about the rights of the trans person. What about the rights of everyone else? For example,
that's what the conversations have been about. So, yeah.
Well, but take a locker room conversation, like high school. And I remember reading stories about, here's a biological male that identifies as trans and wants to use the female locker room. And the school would be like, well, we can't do that, but we could let you use the teacher's locker room or the teacher's restroom. And that wasn't good enough. And it's like, well, why? Well, because this particular trans kid's feelings would be hurt. What about the girls in the locker room? What about their feelings? Sure. What about what they think? They're in that. Is it reasonable for those girls to not want to shower with a man? Would they say, I feel uncomfortable? I feel like that, the numbers bear out that I'm more likely to be assaulted. Their opinion on this doesn't matter. And I just find it very strange that, again, it goes back to sort of that idea that we accept that some groups are victims and others aren't, or some groups are more victims than others. And so only their feelings or opinions matter on this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on the topic, but sure. I mean, that's going to super depend on the topic, yeah.
Yeah, anyways, that's the trans debate. But yeah, I think fuck all those people on the left that didn't defend. I remember watching even Pisco. I like Pisco, but I watched him defend you on some panel, and I was like, come on, dude. Just fucking tell them. It's just stop coddling to these people. I just find it ridiculous. And trust me, they'll welcome you back with open arms if you do their panel. If you get unbanned from Twitch, they'll welcome you back with open arms. Oh, we missed you. Our viewership was down 20% while you were gone. Thanks for coming back, Destiny. Fuck them all. It's so dumb. And then this other thing. Anytime you do a stream with Lauren Southern, I see people. I guess you're now a Nazi, or you believe in great replacement theory or something now. That's the new line, I guess.
Something like that,
yeah. Yeah. I just find that it's people that don't have anything better to say. When do you want to do the debate with Burisma with me?
Good question. We'll set that up. We need to. I've just been doing a ton. I traveled so much last month. I think I was gone for like half the month, but yeah, we can. Yeah, we'll set it up at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, pick a moderator. I don't care. But yeah, I know you're busy. I do thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I wanted to review the debate we did. So I have no audience on YouTube. I get like 60, 70 people that watch me on Twitch. YouTube's constantly banning me for whatever reason. Disinformation and this shit and that shit. But I can't even review the debate we had on Biden on Twitch because I can't even show clips of interactions I had with you before you were banned on Twitch. That's how fucking stupid it is. It's so aggravating. It's so dumb.
Yep, that's what Twitch does. Yeah.
But by the way, I've never interacted with this Mr. Girl guy. I was watching watching one of his clips other today. Like, you realize that guy sucks, right? Like, at least from the clip that I saw, like he's standing shirtless talking to his girlfriend about like pretending that he's some sort of psychologist when really he just seems to be insecure, trying to pretend to be smarter than he is. Like, what? Did you find that as stupid as I did?
Well, hey, listen, if you want, you can always go and chat with them. So
I don't even know how to get in touch with them. I don't give it. It's one of those things like when a name pops up people, did you talk with Mr. Girl? I'm like, I've never seen one fucking clip with him. And I'd heard people talk, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt because people are like, oh, he said some crazy shit about child exploitation and shit like this. I'm like, I don't know.
I think it's interesting, so that's why I like talking to him. So
yeah, I mean, I get you. That's why I talk to people too, even people I dislike. I talk 90. I can't say that. 50% of the people I talk to, I walk away. I'm like, what the fuck was that? That was so stupid. But I could talk with someone which I think has horrible takes. But I'm like, well, that was an interesting conversation, or it made me think. So I maybe I'd be willing to talk to the guy. But from when I saw that clip today, I was like, what the? This is all the stink. This guy, like this armchair psychologist with his shirt off, like embarrassing his girlfriend or whoever he's hooking up with. It just, I don't know. Looked like a fucking joke to me.
Well, give him a shot. Maybe you guys can have a fun chat. It'd be pretty combative.
Sure. I'm sure it'd be good. So, all right, man. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time. If you don't need to hit me up, feel free to do so. But for the record, I think it's shitty that you were banned. And if they allow you to come back, I think you should tell them that they're bigger than you and not go back to them. But that's just my opinion. But
okay, I'll keep it in mind. Okay.
Take it easy, man.
Have a good one. Bye.
Yep. Whoop. Sorry about that. I'll get my thing back. There we go. Yeah, it wasn't a bad conversation. It's better when we have something to argue about. But I really wanted to ask him when we could do the debate in Burisma. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end this stream, and then I'm going to start it right back up. But I could be on Twitch. But I'll be right back on YouTube and stuff. So I'm going to end the stream, go to the restroom, and then I'll be right back wherever you're watching me now and on Twitch. So give me 1 second. Thank you all for watching. I'll be right back. If you're on YouTube, you'll probably have to go to the next live stream, just so you know. So I'll be right back. Right.